They ghosted you. Good. That pain you're feeling? Even better. This ain't just heartbreak, it's a wake-up call. You want to know what being ignored really means? Stick around, cause by the end of this video, you won't just understand it, you'll weaponize it. Look, I've been there. You send that message, no reply. You walk into a room, they act like you don't even exist. That sting in your chest, that burn in your gut, that's not weakness. That's a sign you gave a damn. But here's the truth, nobody's telling you being ignored is not rejection. It's direction. It's a signal to level-up. Now let's break this down. Have you ever been ignored by someone you gave your all to? You ever sit there, staring at your phone, waiting for that reply that never comes? You keep checking, reading your last message, thinking maybe, just maybe, they didn't see it, maybe they're busy, maybe they're gonna come back. Nah, they're not. And guess what? That pain you're feeling right now, that sharp sting in your chest, that lump in your throat when they don't even acknowledge your existence, that's not a weakness. That's not heartbreak. That's data. Pain is raw intel. It's not the enemy. It's the report card. It's your body and your mind screaming at you. What you're learning something here. But most people run from that pain. They distract themselves. They binge Netflix. They go to parties. They lie to themselves saying, I don't care. But they do. You do. We all do. Because being ignored hits at something deep. It attacks your sense of worth. It makes you question who you are. That's why it hurts. But you gotta flip the script. Because pain doesn't lie. Pain is truth. Pain is clarity. You can ignore a compliment. You can dismiss praise. But pain, you feel that in your soul. And if you sit with it long enough, it starts talking to you. It tells you where your attachment is. It tells you where your identity is tied to someone else's validation. It tells you that maybe, just maybe, you've been giving your power away hoping someone else would return it. But here's the brutal truth, and you're not gonna like it. Nobody's coming to save you from that silence. Nobody's gonna send that message you've been waiting for. Nobody's gonna hand you closure on a silver platter. So you've got a choice. You can either drown in that pain, pretend it doesn't exist, keep hoping or you can listen to it. Really listen. Because that pain is feedback. And feedback is how you grow. Why do you think the gym hurts? Why do you think your muscles burn? Because the pain tells you you're getting stronger. It tells you you're pushing the limit. Same thing here. Emotional pain. That's your inner muscle saying you're growing out of something that no longer fits. You cared. That's why it hurts. You were open. You were vulnerable. And that's not something to be ashamed of. That's your power, not your flaw. You think pain is weakness leaving the body. Wrong. Pain is truth entering the mind. You need to analyze that pain like a soldier reads a battlefield. Ask yourself, what is this showing me? Why did it hurt so much? Was it really about them? Or was it something deeper? Was it about being ignored? Or was it about a story you told yourself? That if they don't reply, you're not worth it. That's the lie pain exposes. Because if someone can ignore you and it shatters you, that means they were holding too much real estate in your heart, in your mind. And pain just lit a match to that illusion. So good, let it burn. Feel it all, don't run from it. Because if you don't face it now, it'll haunt you later. Let that pain make you obsessed with growth. Let it sharpen your focus. Let it tell you where your emotional armor is cracked. Because what you're learning right now, in this silence, is more valuable than 1,000 conversations. You're learning self-awareness. You're learning resilience. You're learning how to rebuild without needing applause. This is where most people tap out. This is where they beg for closure, settle for less, and go right back to the people who ignored them, just to avoid being alone with themselves. But not you. You're gonna sit in the fire. You're gonna study the pain. You're gonna let it teach you what soft living never could, because the pain is speaking. And only the brave stick around long enough to hear what it's trying to say. You feel like you got kicked out of someone's world. One day you mattered. Next, they're gone. Silence. Distance. Change behavior. You're sitting there asking yourself questions that have no answers. What did I do wrong? Why did they stop caring? Why am I not enough anymore? And that's the trap. You think rejection means you're not worthy. You think them walking away means you lost. But what you don't realize is that rejection is just life rerouting you, cutting off access to people, places, and patterns that no longer serve your mission. You got rejected. Good. That's life saying, get the hell out of that lane. That's life saying, you're wasting energy on something that isn't part of the plan anymore. That's not a loss. That's a redirection. But the problem is, you're emotionally invested. Your ego's bruised. Your heart's confused. And you confuse discomfort with injustice. You think if something hurts, it must be wrong. But that pain, that sharp twist you feel when someone walks out without warning, that's not punishment. That's course correction. See, rejection always shows up right before transformation. Always. Because here's the truth, most of you are loyal to people who've already outgrown your journey. You're committed to places where your growth is stunted. And deep down, you knew it, you felt it. But you didn't move. So life had to move you. You got ghosted. Good. You got benched, left out, overlooked. Even better. Now you're not distracted. Now you're not chasing dead conversations, fake support, or conditional love. You got stripped down, and that's when the rebuild begins. But let's get real. You still don't believe it. You still think rejection is failure. That it means you lack something. That they saw your flaws and walked. You're personalizing it. You're writing stories in your head about how you'll never be chosen again. Stop. Rejection doesn't say anything about your value. It says everything about your direction. That chapter closed because the next one requires a different version of you. One they couldn't handle. One they wouldn't support. One they never saw coming. You want to know what real strength is? It's not holding on when someone's slipping away. It's letting them go and not chasing. It's not begging for an explanation. It's standing there in silence and understanding, this is not where I'm supposed to be anymore. See, most people don't get this. They waste years stuck on people who were never designed to walk their whole journey. They keep pulling on doors that were locked on purpose. They keep texting ghosts, trying to resurrect what was meant to die. But the elite, the uncommon, obsessed, they take rejection and flip it. They take the pain and turn it into focus. They say, all right, you're out of the picture. That must mean I'm being repositioned. And they stop whining. They stop wondering. They start working. Let me tell you something, if they didn't reject you, you never would have seen the cracks. You would have kept pouring into something that was never pouring back. You would have kept building a future with someone who was never meant to be there at the finish line. That's the power of rejection. It doesn't just close doors. It exposes them. It shows you what was real, what was fragile, and what was never yours in the first place. You're mad they left. Be grateful. You're hurt they switched up. Good. Now you've got no choice but to focus forward. No safety nets, no illusions, no backup plans. Because rejection doesn't mean you're less. It means you're being aligned with more. More truth. More purpose. More fire. You just have to stop resisting and start moving. Most of you are still stuck in the same cycle because you keep fighting the redirection. You're like a GPS that keeps saying routing, but you're ignoring it, trying to go back the way you came. That way is closed now. Burn. You don't need to repair what was broken. You need to walk through what just opened. You got to get ruthless with your energy. You got to understand that every no, every silence, every unanswered message, that's divine protection. That's life saying, you're meant for something different, something bigger. And the only reason it hurts is because you thought where you were was good enough. But you've got no idea what's waiting for you up ahead. Once you stop crying about the exit and start sprinting toward the next level. Because life doesn't subtract without multiplying later. You just got to be bold enough to move forward when the universe says, not here. You keep replaying the last conversation, don't you? Word for word, frame by frame, wondering what you missed, what you could have said, what they should have said. You're out here walking around with your mind spinning like a broken record, trying to find that perfect moment where everything made sense. But it never does. Because it ended without explanation. No goodbye, no closure, no final chapter, just silence. And now you're stuck in a war with a ghost, trying to solve a puzzle that was never yours to finish. You're not looking for answers, you're looking for relief. You want that one last message, that one apology, that one honest truth to make all the pain go away. But here's the problem. That's not how this works. Closure is a lie they sold you so you'd stay stuck in the waiting room. It's a concept built to keep you dependent on people who already showed you they don't care enough to stay. You think closure is going to bring you peace. It won't. Because peace doesn't come from them. It comes from you deciding this is done. You don't need a final explanation. You need to stop making them responsible for your healing. Every time you reach back out, every time you type that message and delete it, every time you stalk their social life, hoping for a sign, you're giving them more power than they deserve. You're outsourcing your peace to someone who already left you in chaos. Why do you think they didn't give you closure? Because they didn't want to deal with your reaction. Because they wanted an easy out. Because ghosting you is simpler than facing their own truth. And now you're stuck picking up emotional pieces they shattered and walked away from. Let me tell you something. Closure is not a conversation. It's not a reply. It's not an apology. It's not a 3 a.m. message saying, "Hey, just wanted to explain." That's not closure. That's a delay. That's a temporary relief to keep you from facing what you already know deep down. They're not coming back. They don't have the emotional maturity to face what they broke. And even if they did, you're still giving them the pen to write the ending of your story. Stop waiting for someone to validate your pain. Stop looking for permission to move on. Stop hoping that one day they'll say, "You were right. I was wrong." That day might never come. And even if it does, you won't be the same person anymore. The version of you that's begging for closure is the version that still thinks you need them to heal. But healing, real healing, that's when you wake up one day and realize you didn't need their explanation. You needed your own strength. You needed to look at yourself in the mirror and say, "I don't know why they did what they did, but I know who the hell I am." You need to stop asking why and start telling yourself what's next. You want to be powerful. You want to be unshakable. Then stop waiting on words that'll never come and be your own damn closure. That means you make peace with unanswered questions. That means you accept the apology you never got. That means you take all that anger, confusion, disappointment, and you build something with it. Discipline, focus, relentless self-respect. You think closure is about them making things right. Nah, closure is about you deciding that their silence is enough. That what they didn't say tells you everything you needed to know. They didn't fight for you. They didn't explain. They didn't care enough to stay. That's the closure. You just didn't want to accept it because it wasn't wrapped in kindness. Because it didn't come with soft words. Because it didn't feel fair. But life's not fair. And people won't always give you what you deserve. Especially when they never saw your value in the first place. So what are you going to do? Keep waiting for a text that may never come. Keep hoping they circle back with clarity. Keep putting your life on pause for someone who already pressed stop. Or are you finally ready to look at yourself, broken, pissed off, confused, and say, "I'm not chasing closure. I am closed." Because if you're still hoping they come back with the truth, you're not healing. You're gambling. And the longer you gamble with your peace, the more you lose time, energy, and self-worth. You don't get that back. You think strength is having that last conversation. You think it's hearing them say, "I messed up." Nah, strength is walking away with nothing, with no closure, with no final chapter, and still choosing to never look back. Because closure isn't given. It's owned. You got ignored. Left to read. Watch them walk away without a second thought. Good. That pain you're carrying. That tightness in your chest. That's your fuel tank filling up. That's your next level loading in the background. The problem is, you're wasting it. You're sitting in the pain like it's a punishment instead of using it like it's a weapon. Because nobody told you the truth. Pain isn't the enemy. It's the fucking advantage. Pain is the entry fee to greatness. You don't break down from it. You build with it. You turn it into fuel. You feel empty inside because someone didn't choose you. That emptiness is space. Space to get stronger. Space to get sharper. Space to put the hours in while they're out there pretending they're okay. Let them go. Let them forget you. You're not here to be remembered. You're here to become unforgettable. And that kind of transformation, it's built in the dark. It's built in silence. It's built when no one is clapping for you and no one gives a damn how you feel. You think champions are made with motivation. You think they're made with positive vibes and people hyping them up. Nah, champions are built when life says, "Fish you." And they say, "Bet, watch me." You don't need their support. You don't need their message. You need that rage in your gut that says, "I'll never feel this low again," and do nothing about it. This ain't about revenge. This isn't about proving them wrong. This is about becoming so locked in, So obsessed with your own evolution that what they did becomes irrelevant. That version of you they walked away from, that's gone. Dead. You're building someone new now. You know what the greatest comeback is. Not getting even. Getting focused. You take all that energy you waste thinking about them, and you put it into the work. The reps. The miles. The grind. You let that silence echo while you're building something so loud it shakes the ground they're standing on. You want to be powerful. Then stop reacting and start redirecting. Every time the thought of them creeps in, you redirect it. Into your training. Into your goals. Into becoming a version of you so locked in that nobody's absence can ever shake you again. Because here's the truth, pain will visit you. But it's what you do with it that decides whether you stay stuck or get savage. You're waiting to feel better before you move. You got it backwards. You move while it hurts. You move while your chest is tight and your stomach's sick and your brain's screaming at you to stop. You don't wait to heal before you rise. You rise, and healing happens as a side effect of your discipline. Pain is pressure, and pressure creates diamonds. But only if you don't crack. You can cry, but don't you quit. You can break, but don't you stop building. Because every minute you spend hurting is a minute you could be using. And if you don't use it, it uses you. It turns you into a victim. It turns you into someone who rewatches old memories instead of creating new standards. It turns you into someone who wastes years chasing closure instead of chasing goals. You got ignored. Good. That's one less person to distract you. One less fake relationship to babysit. One less voice in your ear telling you to stay average. Now it's quiet. Perfect. Now it's empty. Even better. Because now you can hear your own voice. Now you can feel your own hunger. You think the grind is glamorous. It's not. It's brutally. It's boring. It's cold. But it's the only place that pain becomes power. The only place you take what broke you and forge something unbreakable. You want healing? Get to work. You want peace? Get disciplined. You want revenge? Forget it, because success is louder than any closure you think you need. And don't get it twisted. The pain will still visit you. Random days, random moments, the urge to reach out, to rewind, to relapse. It'll hit you. But now, you're different. Now, you know what to do with it. You lace up, you get back to it. And you remind yourself that you were never meant to be chosen by them. You were meant to be built by this. So they ignored you. They ghosted you. They left you hanging, questioning your worth, doubting your value, wondering why the hell it happened like this. Goad. Because now you've got pain. And pain is the greatest fiffing teacher on this planet. You don't need closure. You don't need their text. You don't need their approval. What you need is to get back up with blood in your eyes and fire in your chest. You thought you needed answers, but what you really needed was a wake-up call. You thought being ignored meant you weren't enough, but now you know it means you were too much for people who couldn't handle your growth. You thought you were being rejected, but life was just redirecting you to a better-ing path. This pain you're feeling, this silence, this anger in your gut, this is your moment. This is where most people give up, where they break down, where they shrink, but not you. You don't break. You build discipline. You build focus. You build a life so strong, so loud, so undeniable. They can ignore you all they want, and it won't mean a damn thing. You become your own closure. You turn pain into fuel, and you go so far, so deep into your purpose, that nobody from your past could ever catch up, even if they tried. Stop chasing people. Start chasing greatness. Because if they didn't respond, if they walked away, if they left you behind, they did you the biggest favor of your life. They gave you silence. And silence is where the real beasts are born. So, it hurts. But now you know the truth. It wasn't rejection. It was a fistard.